Digital games often take existing tabletop games and improve on them. They speed them up, they make them function more efficiently. Automating board games saves a lot of time, and Gloomhaven Digital manages to capture the essence of a board game and the convenience of a digital game, creating an amazing experience that I haven't matched yet. Hey there, I'm Bun. I've spent years in competitive gaming as a player, as a coach, and as a games analyst. Welcome to Co-op or Flop, where I analyze games meant to be played as a team and I help you decide whether you should party up, who it's best played with, and if the experience is worth the title of Best Co-op Game. Do take the time to like and subscribe if you enjoy. Let's get on with it. Every once in a while, a game comes along that really sucks me in and keeps me playing and playing without realizing how much time is going by. Gloomhaven Digital managed to do that to me. This game is easily found on Steam, and is coming to consoles soon. It is created and updated by Flaming Fowl Studios, which seems to be a small team currently working on Frosthaven, the sequel to Gloomhaven. It's not exactly a new game, so it has had time to settle, but the game is clearly not up to AAA standards, and that sometimes does show. Gloomhaven Digital starts off on the right step by putting you straight into the title screen after logos. Plenty of developers prefer to drop you straight into the action on initial boot up, not giving you time to alter settings. I really wish a lot of studios would go back to this style because we've all been THX'd multiple times, and it's never pleasant. The campaign opens with a well-voiced cinematic that introduces the base tile sets of the game and the initial characters.
You think you have what it takes to become a mercenary out there on the edge of the world? We are paid to venture into the darkest forests of the region and to step into ancient crypts.
The game shoves you into the overworld screen and makes you pick a character. This is the first time you'll be forced into way too much text. Every time you pick a new character, you'll have to read through every card they have available, which can range from 13 to nearly 20 cards. And as you level up your town wealth, every character will begin at higher levels, which will increase the card count by 2 each. This is both a blessing and a curse for the game, as it can quickly overwhelm some players. Some people in my group struggled with keeping up with their cards, and this problem is even worse in single player, where you'll need to use a minimum of 2 characters. I go through and determine I want to play as the Scoundrel, my brother as the Tinkerer. I read through my cards again, considering I'd played the game for a couple of hours beforehand. Once your character is picked, the game walks you through the merchant. I decide it's most likely best to use a potion and some armor. The equipment menu itself is pretty decent, and it leaves little to be desired. The game then shows you how to embark on your first quest, so off we went, and... oh! An encounter! Every time you move somewhere, no matter the distance, a text box and a couple of options appear. A group of flying birds are above us, and we can either try to shoot them down or let them fly. We choose to shoot them down and receive a blessing. Awesome. I have no clue what that means, but hey. This is kind of an issue with the game where, when you start off, there's a lot of things like blessings and curses that are not necessarily super well understood and aren't taught very efficiently. We eventually figure out what each does. Now we're prompted to pick a bonus quest for perk points during the dungeon. This system is cool, but I have some bad news about it. This is the first of multiple issues that stem from transitioning the board game to digital. In the board game, you randomly pick these from a deck. I believe the game does the same because not all of them can be completed in every dungeon. For example, you can begin a dungeon with Aggressor, which asks you to have an enemy on the map every turn, but start your first turn with no enemies on the map and fail it before you've even had a chance to play. When these function well though, they are a fun side quest. Once in game, the visuals are really nice. Characters look good, animations start off being pretty neat, the tiles look good, and the environment is clear for the most part. There's not much that bothers me, but soon I noticed a pretty annoying issue. An enemy needs to move, but can't, and instead of being skipped over, the game halts to a still for 3 to 4 seconds. Well, there's only 3 enemies on screen, and only 1 enemy that can't move, this is fine. But later, this becomes a huge issue. I get to playing my cards and... oh god. They ask for confirmation on everything. You want to move only 1 tile? You click 1 tile, hit confirm, and then have to hit skip movement. When you start getting multiple effects per card that you sometimes won't use, this becomes super frustrating. For example, a move 2, attack 2, then move 2 card will require you to move 2 slots, confirm, wait to move, skip attack, move 2 slots, confirm. This increases turn times immensely and often left a few of our group wondering why their turns weren't ending. When in multiplayer, the host has to confirm every time enemy cards are shown and is in control of overarching effects. This means that when I wasn't paying too close attention, we often lost 10 to 20 seconds around waiting for me to hit confirm. We progress through the dungeon and loot a treasure chest just to see that we received an item. But we can't see what it is. We see the icon, but that's all we get. This is a great segue to talk about the elephant in the room. Every 10 or so minutes, the UI of the game annoys someone. It's almost as if very little thought was put into making this usable for people that haven't played the game before. There are often weird moments where the health bars will display an incorrect amount of damage dealt, even though the game functions normally, or confusion over what symbols mean due to lack of knowledge. Most of your time in this game will be spent dealing with the cumbersome UI, and I do feel it could have been dealt with quite a bit better. A little text box next to cards that explained some basic things would have been really nice and very easy to just ignore. We play through and finish the scenario objective and the round, and we finish our first quest. Huzzah! We are shown a scoreboard, given our rewards, and move on. Funnily enough, the scoreboard shows a record symbol, but it's not a global record. It just shows who did the best in that category during that scenario. This is the loop you'll be following through the rest of the game, and it's overall very smooth. As I continued onwards through scenario after scenario, the enemy count increased, and what I feared the most happened. Turns started taking way too long, and to no fault of any player. I sometimes had to sit and wait for around 2 to 3 minutes at a time for the AI to finish taking their turn after my 10-second total turn. This became quite an obnoxious thing to deal with, and I started playing with YouTube on the side. Overall, I've been pretty negative about the game so far, but believe me when I say that generally the experience with the game was phenomenal. Character variety is great, and the exploration of different scenarios is always interesting. If you feel that a round screwed you over, you have a restart round button that allows you to give that same round another try without having to slug through the whole scenario again. This is really great because the RNG is seeded, meaning you won't alter the results of a single hit throughout the encounter and can't cheat your way forwards. But if you just grab the wrong card, or misclicked at some point, you can just hit the rewind and try it again. Whilst I don't usually focus on strategy games, this feature is one that is lacking in most of the games I've played where misclicks have led me to just quitting the game because I'm a little impatient on these things. I do want to go over some of the best things that this game has earned itself. The multiplayer, for example, is one of the best ways to handle multiplayer. The difference between multiplayer and a single-player session is minor. This is fantastic. The only things that change are that if something progresses in any form, it asks all players to confirm. That is it. The rest is seamless. It is exactly as if you were playing with everyone around the same computer. As I mentioned earlier, the character variety is amazing. All of them are fit for someone and enjoyable for everyone. There are a few that don't feel great to me as a person, but I know that some people would adore them, like the Summoner or the Beastmaster. They're overall great, and the card variety is amazing. Each character is playable in multiple ways. For example, the Brute can be played focusing on high damage and maneuverability, or slower and a lot beefier. They all look visually impressive, and the base game characters do have alternate costumes which are cute, but not really a game changer. The scenario variety is good, and there are some really interesting and unique setups and objectives, but there is something to be said about the tile sets. I believe the base game has no more than 5 or 6 tile sets, which isn't too noticeable if you vary your locations on the map. Some enemies have some slightly frustrating movesets, and if you're an aggressive player, you might get screwed over by those. But overall, everything is beatable, whether through cheesy use of mechanics or otherwise. Speaking of cheese, the creative use of characters is very noticeable, and some almost even rely on good positioning and use of abstract abilities. This game doesn't go to the lengths of some games like Divinity Original Sin 2, but it still has a lot of environmental fun. Finally, after retiring mercenaries, they will sometimes appear in encounters and city encounters, which leads to unique interactions where you may see someone you used to work with at the bar, or guards looking for an old ally turned criminal. These small interactions help make the world feel a lot more alive. The main issue with co-op in this game is that it really matters who you play with. Matching traits is more important than anything else. As a strategy game, there's quite a bit of flexibility amongst who can play it, but not who you can play with. If you're a patient, slow player, don't draft impatient friends, and vice versa, because sometimes you will need to take a few minutes to consider your turns if you like to take your time, and it will compound with the rest of the game to slow it down immensely. If you are a fast player, though, and so are your friends, this game will work very well. Make sure to match your gameplay styles with your friends before playing, and your results should be great. Overall, Gloomhaven is a really fun experience that works really well with teammates, and solo alike. If you're looking for a slower character experience with your friends and want to party up, Gloomhaven is a safe out of 10 for a fun game.